This is the Holy Mountain Podcast, where we discuss what it means to find rest, regain perspective, and reconnect with the world around us.
Okay.
All right. Here we are with episode 1. And in these first few episodes, really just trying to give the background for Holy Mountain, but obviously we should start with who's talking,
Yes.
who we are in general. So we're the Oehlers. This is Shane.
I'm Rebekah.
And we've been married since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could potentially get into like some of our story. I think it'll come out kind of like naturally through these beginning episodes. But yeah, right now I am the president of Holy Mountain. I'm kind of the one who had the idea for it. And so we'll talk about that today too, like where that idea came from. But yeah, really, I'm kind of the one spearheading it. We do have a board, but
Today's about the origin story.
yeah,
Just because I feel like people who know about Holy Mountain, maybe, I feel like at this point, when it was first started, everyone kind of knew the whole origin story and where it all came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just our core support system.
Mm-hmm.
As the years have gone on, we have people who maybe just don't know like that backstory of us and where this has originated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it was brilliant. A podcast. Why not?
Yeah.
Explain it to people who maybe we're not getting the opportunity to have that heart-to-heart conversation with, who are equally invested
Right.
in what we're doing, but don't have the opportunity to sit down and have those conversations. So
Yeah, I think the point that we've been at too, because I think there is a piece to recognize that I think we first started Holy Mountain in 2020.
mhm.
And like it's 2026 right now. And we're
That's so crazy.
yeah, we're still very like early stages in,
Mhm.
but because it has been one of those kind of like back burner things. And so I think, yeah, this will be helpful to just communicate, I think, more effectively of like what it is that we are still doing and what we're working towards. But
Yeah.
then also to try to get the word out, because
It's more than us.
that's the spot that I feel like we've been in for a little bit, is kind of like our core circles know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they, like you said, like they've heard the story,
Mm-hmm.
but now to try to branch out of that and kind of like break through that next barrier, I do think a podcast will be effective to just try to communicate to more people more effectively,
Yeah.
like what it is that we're really trying to do and kind of like what we need to get there.
And I think too, it's also like, again, like you said, we're in the early stages of it all. And so there's not a whole lot of tangible stuff that we're putting out there. But if anyone has kept up with us or does life with us or does life with anyone who's a part of Holy Mountain, would know that it is kind of like a lifestyle, like that we're encouraging or that we're just talking about. And so I think that too will like resonate with people, and hopefully leave them encouraged, inspired, and yeah, just making relationships better.
Yeah, because
Positive
there's
impact.
definitely, like with Holy Mountain, we have values that we kind of like uphold, and then we also have a motto. We'll talk about that kind of
Mhm.
future episodes, but like you're saying, like those pieces are really lifestyle pieces that I think, truthfully, like everyone should be kind of striving for
Mhm.
and embodying throughout their life. And so that's where, yeah, it is a lifestyle piece, but then like it is more than that. So I guess to just kind of like jump into it. So yeah, Holy Mountain is registered 501c3 right now. So we're a nonprofit. Like anybody who gives to us, it's like a tax deductible donation. We started as an LLC. And so I'll go back there first. But our mission for like just why we exist is to build and strengthen community and focus on individual, family, and group growth. And then really having that happen like through the outdoors. So kind of recognizing that like we want to work with people,
Mhm.
and there's like a strong emphasis on building community with people. but then also seeing the need that at times we'll be working with individuals. At times it will be like group events or kind of like group programs that we'll be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like a core piece as well that it will be families. Like a lot of what we're hoping to do with Holy Mountain is to like equip families and also like build up and strengthen families.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've, just kind of seen in our own lives how the outdoors has kind of like been this important aspect for our lives, but then also like a pretty easy like conduit
Mm-hmm.
where we can like make these things happen. And I think, like conversations happen, like so many things happen more naturally when you are in the outdoors.
And I think to your point, like in our culture, like for our family specifically, the outdoors is a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to anyone in our culture, it just forces depth or just recognition, or it just makes them escape out of whatever chaos that they're existing in. And it just brings a sense of calm, and there's a mutual like connection that is made when we remove ourselves from the chaos of the everyday that most of us are living. And I do think we've witnessed several times people who maybe don't claim outdoor hobbies or the outdoors as their space. Just really kind of have an experience out there, not in a
woo woo,
woo woo way, but more relationally,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I think to your point, it is that for, I would say, anyone.
Mm-hmm.
If they let it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So that's the mission behind Holy Mountain, kind of like the vision for it. So like I had said, we started as an LLC where it was essentially just like we were selling like branded merch.
For advertisement.
Yeah, for
And money.
advertisement. But then kind of like a little like tagline for us was like, it's more than just a brand. Like right now, that's what it is. But we knew like concept wise and like you said, depth wise, like this is more than just a brand. But then also like just functionally, like we're hoping that this becomes more than just a brand. And so like a registered nonprofit was always the end goal. But even more than that, I think to like cast the bigger vision, like what my dream would be is if Holy Mountain could really be something that I go full time with. Like I would love for us to have a physical space that we can operate out of, program out of. You know, I've kind of had this like vision for it to kind of function as like an after school programs, like kids could come here after school. I'm super into archery and bow hunting. And so that would kind of be the main focus for like the physical space. So have a little indoor range, have, like simple Genesis bows where kids could learn to shoot. I'm archery instructor certified. So like that's been a piece of it as well. Just like teaching people some of those basics. And so I'd love to have a physical space where it's just a positive and safe environment for kids to be. And then, have like those tutor tables, the archery range, like things that they can like functionally do. So we're also doing more than just teaching someone an outdoor skill, but it's like really focused on that whole person development as well. Like really coming alongside people to help them like shape their whole life.
Yeah.
And then from that physical location, then do programming. And so I'd love to have like a fully functioning like mentor program where again, if I'm into archery and bow hunting, I can take like a mentor group and walk through this kind of like sequence that mirrors our values where we're doing like specific things to build towards this like end goal. But in my case, it would be in regards to archery or bow hunting. But say for somebody else, it could be like fly fishing or it could be just backpacking in general.
Yeah.
But have those mentor groups where we're connecting youth with positive mentors. And then again, using the outdoors kind of as that connecting point. So that's like really
which shockingly,
the big picture vision.
Again, like jumping a little bit of ahead of the story. We're in Montana, and I think people would be shocked to know like how little of that exists out here.
Right.
And how many kids are out of touch or yeah, it just really is lacking. Like there is a huge need for it, even in archery range.
Mhm.
Like that doesn't really exist out here. And, you know, we've
Yeah, like
talked
we
to enough
have,
people where they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, nothing like this exists.
yeah,
Um, and again, it's not that everyone does it through us. It's that maybe this is the stepping stone for them to learn healthy tools, build positive relationships, have a more secure identity and confidence.
mhm.
Yeah, just like life skills that we all need. Um, yeah, if it's not forever, it's just that stepping stone to help launch successful adults for the
Right.
future kids, future families. Like that's a huge need that we see.
Yeah, and that's really like going into the next piece of like where
Yeah, should we
like
go
where
back
the,
where it came from?
yeah.
Where
Yeah,
did
we
the
can kind of
idea
tell the
come
story of like
from?
where it came from. Yeah. So we both grew up in Oregon. I went to
Salem, Oregon.
yeah, I went to school and I was studying youth ministry, but I never really felt like I was going to work at a church, which ironically I am currently
Yeah.
working at a church.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, in youth ministry. And that's been great. But I was kind of like wrestling in college with what it was that I was going to do. And so I remember having a conversation with my roommate at the time, and he just asked like, "Well, if you could do anything, like what would you want to do?" And I remember talking about like I was like, I honestly like I would love to do something where like I'm just like taking youth on hunts or like guiding youth specifically on these like trips and adventures in the outdoors. And that's kind of like what sparked the idea was like, okay, like maybe it's something about like youth in the outdoors that I'm really feeling a passion towards. And then, kind of like praying about it more too. There was this like constantly like the thought of like fatherless youth was like pretty heavy on my heart too.
Hmm.
And so that was, I would say, early concepts for Holy Mountain was connecting fatherless youth with positive male mentors in the outdoors. And it was like that specific
Because that was an obvious need.
because that was an obvious need. And yeah, I think, yeah, just like something I like felt very strongly about.
Hmm.
But then like, I think this would be like part of it that we can talk about is I think in some of our shared experiences and the different jobs that I've had, I think my eyes just continuously were opened to the fact that like fatherless youth is actually too narrow of a focus.
Hmm.
And there's like so many more kids than that that need this type of mentorship or like this type of help.
Because there
Um,
was also kids who had fathers, who had mothers, who still were missing it. And they
right.
weren't getting that.
Yeah. So like one of my jobs that I've worked was at a youth correctional facility. And I remember that probably being like one of the biggest things that opened my eyes to the need for the concept to expand because I was talking to guys that like their dad was the one that gave them meth when they were 6 years old.
Hmm.
Or like, yeah, they had two parents in the home, but their parents just wanted drugs. And so they like literally sold them out for drug money
Hmm.
while they were like in elementary school. And I remember like, yeah, almost getting like choked up hearing these guys that were now in their like late teens that had been locked up telling this story and feeling like you never had a chance. And
Right.
it's because like you had a dad that was just so focused on himself or like just so checked out of like what it really means to be a dad and to be a healthy dad.
Hmm.
And so again, like I was saying, like that was one of the pieces that like opened my eyes to like, okay, this has to be more than fatherless youth specifically, because this kid had a dad and
Hmm.
his dad was horrible, like,
Right.
and never gave him a chance. And so that really, yeah, kind of like sparked things to change. But I think even like we met at Camp Tapawingo in Oregon. And I think,
Yeah, this is going back.
yeah, like back even farther.
Yeah.
But I think we both saw because we would counsel like cabins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like
When we meet 2016,
I honestly never remember.
I think it was
I think so.
2016. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was my first year of counseling.
Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, we would have met like the spring before then at the leadership retreat. But
Yeah.
I think like in those cabins that we counseled, at least in my experience, like it was continuously, you're seeing more and more broken homes where
Yeah.
like kids, again, maybe they do have both parents, but it's a back and forth situation, or like somebody's not that involved.
Hmm.
And so you're seeing again this issue within our culture of broken homes, like a lack of stability.
Just a
And
lack of investment.
yeah, and then the impacts and the effects that that is having
Yeah.
on the kids, like self-esteem tanking,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like nefarious behavior, like
Hmm.
increasing, like those types of things. And like for a while, like I do have a document where I'd started deep diving, like specifically with fatherless youth, but kind of like the stats, and they're like honestly terrible. Like
Yeah.
your outlook, if you don't have a dad in the picture, is like really grim.
Hmm.
Like your chances of being in poverty are like 75%. Like to be abused, I'm pretty sure it's like over 50%. You know, like all
Hmm.
these things that, like I would say what we identify as like the worst outcomes for a kid
Hmm.
in our culture
Are
are, yeah,
influenced
influenced and
by,
like exponentially increased
yeah.
by having an absent dad. And so then again, like we were saying, as we're seeing these impacts of dads who are physically present but mentally absent, I
Hmm.
think like you can kind of attribute those same outcomes
Hmm.
to those kids. And so I think that's a piece of it too, where I was like we got to do something about this, and just felt like God really putting it on my heart
Hmm.
that like Holy Mountain is a way that we can really impact the community,
Hmm.
come alongside families, come alongside kids specifically, and start showing them like who they really are
Yeah.
versus who they have like believed themselves to be, or like, yeah, just who they never knew they were because they never had a dad to tell them like
Right.
anything.
And I feel like you and I obviously have talked about this stuff for so long, but that is something that we do feel like is something that God's like put, I don't want to say put on us, but it's almost like an opportunity for us. Like, what are you
Mhm.
guys going to do about it? Because like first you have that passion of what you just explained. I have always had a passion, like I grew up in a big family. I grew up with two adopted sisters. I loved working with kids. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Like
Mhm.
I always had those passions, and then we met and we really just totally, I mean, we were basically the same version of each other, just in male and female form. And
Yeah.
when we were at camp, it was like very evident that that was the case. Like we that was just like we always thrive with youth
Mhm.
of any age, like
Mhm.
in all honesty, like even just young adults. Like, and I think it's one of those things that God has given us a unique opportunity of like, okay, you guys both have these passions. You guys are now like this youth power couple who like this power couple who has a passion for youth, and have, it's been like we've been blessed where it is honestly very effortless for
Mhm.
us to work with kids and young adults and all that. Um but yeah, I think we've been given the opportunity to see, are we going to like see these things that God's like slowly revealed to us through these experiences that you and I have both lived together and separately because of these passions that we have? Are we going to do anything about it?
Mhm.
Because I think we're not the ones who are like discovering all of this, you know, oh, I wonder if it's because of the parent influence or the lack of parental
Right.
influence or investment. Like that's not coming from us.
Mhm.
Like God has revealed that to us through us just like paying attention
Mhm.
to the students that we've been exposed to. And now I think again, just typical us. We like don't want to not take action
Mhm.
because we care about it. And why not us? And again, like it's not even like we're doing anything crazy
Mhm.
right now. But I do think again, it is one of those things of just like building awareness of like it's really not that complicated, but it is a lot of work to invest in someone, let alone several youth or just the youth in your community. Like that is a lot. Like if we only knew how many youth in our community are not getting invested in their parents or whatnot. Like that, it's just like heartbreaking. But yeah, I don't know. That's part of like the lifestyle of it all, of like, this isn't just a quick fix. Hopefully it's just like a domino effect of an impact of people just like waking up a little bit, because I do think everyone's capable of it. It just takes selflessness to tap into it. So I think going off of that, when did you like when did Holy Mountain come? Was it in college that it came up for you?
Yeah, it was my sophomore year that like that conversation with my roommate happened, and that I would say like my gears started turning of like, what could this look like? And so much of this has been unfamiliar, right? Like I was 19 years old with this idea for this nonprofit. Like I don't know anything about what that takes, right? And so there's been, I mean, a huge learning curve in a lot of ways of what it even looks like to write up bylaws, form a board, like create any of these processes, like get a website up, get some of the merch, like try to create some of like the structure and foundation. Yeah. And so I think for me too, like I wrestle with things not being done the right way. And so when I don't know what that looks like, it can cause like that hesitation.
Yeah.
And so I think even going back to your earlier point, that's been a piece of it with Holy Mountain where I've had to remind myself, like, this is something that I do firmly believe that God has given me the vision for.
Yep.
And so even when I don't know what it looks like necessarily, I need to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Because like, honestly, would it be easier to just like let it go?
Yeah.
And just work like normal jobs? Like, yeah, probably, but I can't. And like, there's been so many times that I could
you imagine it would haunt you?
Oh yeah. And there's been so many times that, I've had these kind of like unsure moments, and in times where I am like going back over journals that I've written or, things like that, it's so evident to me that I'm like, no, God has blatantly put this on my heart and put this before me. And so I just need to like continue to walk in obedience with that. And so I think maybe even that's like worth mentioning. Like we're going to be talking about God a lot in our faith because that is like who we are.
Yeah.
Like, but Holy Mountain is not an explicitly religious organization, because I do think that there's like a general population that we will immediately miss if that's kind of, I don't know if I want to say like even emphasized, like, because it will be emphasized in pieces, but like it's kind of going to be like an implicit piece, not an explicit piece, where like, if you're paying attention, you'll see there's like components of our faith built into Holy Mountain at every aspect. And like, again, when we talk about the motto, we talk about the values, like we can get into that a little bit, but I do think that there's just naturally people who are turned off to like explicitly religious organizations, or like would never step foot in a church, never want to like go be a part of a church or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, if we're building this community and it's like the outdoors, like that's a way more comfortable thing for people to just naturally kind of like step into.
Yep.
And then through the things that we're teaching them, like they'll be able to see glimpses of like something about this is different. And then the hope is like in conversations with us, in conversations with those mentors, then you can hear our hearts and hear like that this is all because of the faith that we do have,
right?
Like in Jesus and in God's word. But that's not going to be like what we're like blasting at everybody necessarily.
This nonprofit is not sharing the gospel, but we will be living the gospel.
Yeah.
Which is the difference. Is it's not going to be forefront, this is a Jesus brand.
Right.
But it is inspired and influenced solely on biblical truth and just the ways that we know that we're called to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's part of like where our hearts are at, is hopefully everyone who comes alongside the brand, who is representing the brand.
I mean, we're no longer a brand. It's an organization.
Okay. Anyone who's coming alongside the organization
And
or
representing the organization.
Yes, thank you. And representing the organization should be living their lives like influenced by biblical truth and led by God's influence and design, right? And I think that's just like evident in our life so far. Is, I mean, not saying that we display this perfectly, but that is our heart. That's where our heart is for our marriage, for our family, for our community that we work with, and anyone that we're around.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's the exciting thing about the potential of Holy Mountain, again, is like finding ways to influence people in the way that God intended us to and has called us to, and encouraging the influence of biblical truth, biblical structure, biblical relationships, without having to shove the Jesus brand down people's throats and intimidate them. But yeah, I don't know.
It's like I mean, again, like I said, I work at a church now, so it's an interesting line to walk, where in some ways we're acknowledging that's not always the most helpful route and avenue. It's none of it is to say that
it's not effective,
or that like it's not the priority,
right?
Like I would say that the reason that we're doing this is because, again, like firmly believe that God has put this on our hearts. There's pieces like of the motto and of the values that, like I would say, like I can't even attribute to like myself,
right?
Like kind of thinking of it, planning it out, because I don't think I'm that like creative. And so it was only through, like time in God's word that I feel like some of these things were brought out. And then those dots kind of connected of like, oh man, like this is like really what like Holy Mountain could be.
Right.
Or like kind of like these like foundational pieces of the organization.
Right.
And so again, I think it's just one of those aspects where like God has gifted us and equipped us in different ways. He has given us like different passions to reach different people.
Yeah.
And I think through the framework of Holy Mountain, like we can be influencing another kind of like segment of people.
Yeah.
Without like that explicit like turn off and hesitation because like we're like shouting about Jesus in some ways. It's like, well, let's like actually like we'll be like whispering about Jesus. And if you're listening, you're going to hear it.
Yes.
But if you're watching, you will also see what this actually looks like.
Yeah. And that's what, like, back to a point that I made earlier on this topic, was the hope is that our lives will show the gospel. And that, again, like our words should too,
right,
but
sure.
That's not going to be the focus of like having Bible lessons or, whatever. It should just be like the way we're living, the way we're in relationship, the advice that we might be giving,
right.
Speaking into people's lives, loving on them, like that should all reflect the gospel in of itself. And again, like we want to be able to bring in, like you said, that potential community of people or that type of person that just might be turned off by any religious anything, not even just specifically Christianity or Jesus, but just anything having to do with a church or whatever. You just never know. We want we want this to be like an environment that people are wanting to gravitate towards. And again, you and I have talked about this several times, but we are created by God, and subconsciously, whether people acknowledge God in their life or they don't, subconsciously, we all crave him in our life and that relationship with him. And so subconsciously, people are going to be drawn to where God is or where God is moving. And we want to always, outside of Holy Mountain and with Holy Mountain, through Holy Mountain, we want to be a place where God is moving and welcoming that and stewarding that. And again, back to the creation aspect, the outdoors aspect. You and I've talked about this before. There's a reason why we connect with the outdoors. There's a reason why that is like a refuge for people. And I think even people who say they're anti-outdoors are just suppressing something that they actually have a connection to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that breaks down the barriers, because why would we not be drawn and connected to the creation when like it was created by our creator? That was a lot of create.
Yeah.
But it all goes together. Like, we are his creation. So there's a reason why we feel a connection to creation, to nature.
Yeah. And like, that's another piece that I think like, yeah, we could talk about like further in this podcast, like even the intention behind creation and us like being created to reflect the creator, us bearing the image of God, you know, like rule and subdue, like have dominion, and almost like what that looks like in a modern context. Cause I think those words get taken and misconstrued in a lot of weird ways. But I think like even to me, like there's an aspect of like wildlife conservation that I think in our fallen world, like fulfills the design of creation and like of humans, that like we are participators in like the stewardship of wildlife.
Yep.
And how that plays out, especially in the North American model of wildlife management, is through hunting.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that's a piece that I would be kind of like interested in diving down to, of like what that actually looks like to be a steward of wildlife.
Yeah.
To be, someone who kind of like recognizes like the intent of humanity's creation to have dominion and represent God on earth, and what that looks like actually like in a hunting context.
Yeah. I think too, like when you were earlier explaining like how Holy Mountain might function with like programs and stuff. I think there's an aspect where doing hard things and hard work ties hand in hand of just finding purpose. Like backpacking, fishing, hunting, archery, like any of that stuff is hard work. And you put time, energy, you strain, you have to mentally overcome when your body can't sometimes. That ties hand in hand with everything too. I think there's a lot of character growth and a lot of identity found and character found in those things.
For sure.
So I think there's another level too where we want what we do with these families, with these students, youth, whatever age demographic we work with. We want to push them to a limit, to a point where they're challenging themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. And yeah, I think we're trying to build a program, an organization to set us up for that.
Yeah. And that goes back to like the vision for the whole person development. Cause like you're saying, to do the things that we'll be doing, like you will have to be physically
capable,
healthy. Yeah. And then once you're out there doing the physical things, again, there's a reality that like being in the outdoors and being in nature does help your mental health. And so then hopefully we'll be like mentally healthier because of this. We're going to be living out these biblical truths in like implicit ways, you know? So hopefully there will be like spiritual health that will be growing because of this. And so again, like all of those full person development aspects. And then even, you know, we've talked too, like, so I mentioned the physical space that I hope that we have at some point and can operate out of. Part of that vision has been like, maybe we have our own little archery shop and kind of little, like pro shop and merch and arrows and broadheads, like some just things to sell. And then the dream would be that we're actually hiring the youth that we're working with to then like run that. And
just
so now we're giving them, well, and then we're giving them just like job experience.
Yeah.
We're like walking them through, what does it look like to make a resume, to go through an interview?
Yeah.
Like some of those like foundational pieces that I've seen like already in people who have graduated high school, these things where I'm reviewing applications and resumes, and it's shocking, like how minimal those,
Effort.
yeah, well, like minimal effort, but like maybe knowledge. I don't know. Like I honestly
I
don't
mean,
know.
probably.
But in my mind, again, like if we can help equip these kids in this way too, that's setting them up for success. And so
Right.
there's like, yeah, again, the whole person development, all of these like different aspects of life that we're hoping to kind of like come alongside,
Yeah.
build up.
Parents,
Yeah,
potential moms.
right. Yeah, like I've thought about, yeah, is there things for like single moms where
Mhm.
like I remember reading something one time, it said, any ministry to the fatherless has to accompany ministry to the single mothers.
Mhm.
And so, like, maybe that's going to be like a small piece of the organization. Again,
We can't just
like,
be so fixated on meeting one need when, in order to actually problem solve, we need to like find a way to give the tools to meet all the needs.
yeah, and it's idealistic, right, to think we're going to meet all the needs, but I do think to recognize what we have been equipped for, what we do have like capacity to do, and how we can expand it. So
Yeah.
yeah, not to say like we're going to be
Not
the
that
end
we'll
all
do it
be all,
all,
right?
but I think like again, if we can't be something for the moms, we need to be able to have a resource to boost that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we can't just be like, "Oh, we'll be your new parental, like we'll fix you up with new mentorship and you'll be fine." It's like they
Right.
still have to go home.
Yep.
And that is priority. Like that still matters. Like even if their family life is dysfunctional,
Mm-hmm.
like that still matters. So,
Yeah, so that goes back to like another job that I've worked with is at like a behavioral health program. And so much of that work, you could tell how much success a student was going to have just by the support system and the family that they were going back to. Because, like you're saying,
mhm,
they could have had the best experience of the program, learned and grown a ton,
mhm,
gotten all sorts of tools. But then if they go back home to a family unit that's super dysfunctional and like is not giving them anywhere near the same effort that we were giving them,
mhm,
then they're gonna fail, right? Like it was inevitable
mhm.
and nothing actually was gonna stick. There was gonna be no applicable change. And so I do think as much as we can recognize like how can we not just be a band-aid fix
Right.
and just like slap something on that maybe like looks good and feels good and gives us all like a good pat on our back, but that really recognizes like what is broken within this system and how can we like really be an organization that does some meaningful work
Yeah.
to help like
Just impact.
right, yeah, because again we know it's not all on us, but
No.
yeah, and
And
there's
we also know like we might not there's probably not always going to be fruit out of every single
yeah,
thing that we
100%.
come in contact with. And that is just life. But the hope is that you are a positive impact, that someday they circle back and you are on the list of positive something,
Hmm.
influence, or a time where they felt like someone invested in them or they loved them. Yeah, we
Yeah,
just want to leave people with a positive experience. And yeah, just again,
one
like we said earlier, that God influence, that God impact of why am I thinking back to this time? Like, why did this matter so much? Because I feel like, I mean, I hope a lot of people have those moments in their life, and I know I do. Like
hmm
when you think back to where you truly felt people had a huge influence or impact on you in some way, and you think back, it's like, well, why is that? A
yeah,
lot of times in my life, it's like, well, these people were living in obedience to God in that time, or they were letting God lead
hmm
during their time with me.
yeah, and I think to like dig into that even more, I think what will make Holy Mountain different than other like youth programs is the intention is really it's like life alongside. Like it's not
Mhm.
like come do one event with us and then we'll like send you home and we hope you had the best time ever.
Right.
But it is like the consistency that I'm really aiming for. Like I don't
Mhm.
want this to just be like an in and out one experience type of organization. I
Mhm.
want it to be like I have this mentor group and I've been with them maybe since they were in like middle school or
Yeah.
something. And I'm seeing them off until they graduate high school. And then maybe now they're becoming a mentor, like those types of things where like I want this to have like some relational consistency and investment
Mhm.
where it can turn into those like lifelong impact relationships
Yeah.
versus just wow, I went to that like Holy Mountain event and
Right.
had a cool experience. The end. Like
Like
that's not what
we
it's
would
about.
rather have no events. We would rather have no events with hundreds of people and have 3 consistent students
Yeah.
for several years.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways like that's what we've been doing like the past couple years and
Yeah.
we're hoping to maybe get some of those like kids on the podcast to kind of talk about what it's been like even being Holy Mountain guinea pigs like in some ways,
Yeah.
but
How has it been learning outdoor skills with us?
yeah.
I shouldn't put me in it, but
Yeah,
with
but
Shane.
like I think that's again like recognizing the scope that we have right now and the reality that like yeah this is it still is like a back burner thing while I'm working a full-time job while we have a family with 3 young kids,
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm not trying to oversell it and overextend and say that it's like the craziest thing ever, but
Holy Mountain's not coming before your first ministry,
right,
your
yeah. And
family.
again, like that's something that we'll talk about like in with the values because like I am first and foremost responsible for my life and my family's life before I'm ever responsible for the community.
Yep.
But the goal is that we get to the community,
Yes.
right? That again, we're like living in such a way and maintaining these values in our lives that make it so like I am at a good spot. My
Mhm.
family is at a good spot so that I can look outside of
Right.
those circles and start, like shepherding and shouldering like 2 of our values in the community. But it has to start in the home. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little sneak peek of what's to come and we'll get there, but I think we can wrap this one up just for the very intro of what Holy Mountain is, what the mission is, how it started,
Yeah.
and a little bit of like the vision, like where we're hoping to go and
But also knowing that we hold it with open hands and inevitably it'll go where God wants it to go.
yep.
So we kind of, I feel like every year we have some sort of long road trip to see one of our families. And
Mhm.
there's always a Holy Mountain annual discussion of how do you think things have been? Is there anything that we could be doing right now? Because we almost, on a yearly basis, we reevaluate. Is this still something like God it is like putting on our hearts? But yeah, so more to come.
Yep. But I think the podcast was a direct result of one of those like long drives and long conversations where like I think this could be something tangible that we do and start doing again to like get the word out more,
Mhm.
hopefully break through those immediate circles and like continue getting more people within our community. That's ultimately like what we're aiming for. The bigger this community gets,
Mhm.
the bigger the impact can get.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm excited about and yeah, definitely looking forward to even as we like gain some consistency with the podcast rolling out and like keep taking like another tangible step.
Yeah. Why don't we end with what are some hopes that you have for this year? Are there any like events that you want to try to have for our current community?
Yeah, I mean something that we've talked about is just trying to find again like a little tangible thing that doesn't have to be super structured, doesn't have to be a big deal, but it's just kind of like come be a part of it if you can. And so we've talked about building in some frequency because we're really close to Lone Pine State Park here in Kalispell, Montana, and they have a 3D archery course that's super sweet. Like I've really enjoyed it. They've done some expansions like in the past couple years. And so we've talked about looking at like, is it potentially like we very recently just talked about this, that maybe like every other Monday, late afternoon, like I'm just going to go to Lone Pine and shoot my bow. And if that becomes like one of those community kind of events that like if people want to show up and shoot with me, maybe they're getting into archery and like they just want a buddy to shoot with, or maybe like I'm helping them dial in their sight, you know, like again, like mentioned, I am a certified archery coach. And so that's something that I do love to do. I'm like still fairly like novice at it, I would say. But it, again, that's a passion that's there, but just building in that type of frequency and repetition. And yeah, I mean, we have big ideas and big dreams, but I don't want to hint at those quite yet. So I would say that's a recent or like a near sighted hope that I think we can start tangibly doing as well. So stay tuned. You can follow us on social media at Official Holy Mountain. And then we do have a Facebook page too that's linked up. But yeah, Instagram is typically where I'm putting out information about Holy Mountain. And so if I do find whatever that frequency is and whatever that day is, that'll be at Lone Pine consistently. I'll be sure to post something there.
Alrighty. Should we end with like quotes from like gritty outdoorsmen?
Okay, go for it. What you got?
Okay, here's a quick one from John Muir.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
Classic.
Oh, wow. Of all the paths you take in life, make sure a few of them are dirt.
That's good. I don't know that one, but somebody just recently, I was like talking to about the outdoors. I'm like, what does it mean to you? And then they're quoting him. So yeah, I'll have to find that one for another podcast.
I like it.
So there you go.
End with inspiration.
Find some dirt.
All right. Until next time.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
See ya.